Hi everyone, it's Ginger from Stamping to Cape. I'm here on Cape Cod with a 3D gift project I created for the December 2021 New at SU blog hop. You may recall the coffee carriers that Stampin' Up! Offered in the 2020 holiday catalog. I decided to scale those down and make them useful for a variety of items that will make the perfect, quick, and easy gift. The first one I did was this one that features the Whimsy and Wonder, I believe it is, DSP, which unfortunately is already sold out. But if you have some of that, what I used, and I will list all the supplies I used for each of these projects. This particular one holds some olive oil and vinegar, small bottles that are from a local shop, but they, hopefully you have something similar in your area that will fit into there. They make a great gift. I used one of our gusseted cello bags to make it a little fancier, but I used on this one let's see, what was it called again? I think it's What's Cooking stamp set and dies to create a little Happiness is Homemade, and it's sort of like a food related thing because it's the wine and the olive oil and vinegar package. But then I did another one using, unfortunately, which is also currently sold out, the gingerbread and peppermint DSP. If you have some, you can obviously use that. But this one you can put in, Bailey's comes out with these specialty little bottles of their liqueurs every year, so those fit perfectly in there. But if you're not into that kind of thing, you can always go with the Jelly Bellies, and they come out with their bubbly and draft Jelly Bellies, and those fit just as well. If you don't want them loose, you could stuff a little shred in there just to tighten it up, but they fit fine, and you can put them in a little cello bag if you wanted to. So today I'm going to make with you another carrier that are from products that are available currently and should be available and even throughout the rest of the annual catalog. I'm going to be using Misty Moonlight cardstock, and then I'm using some paper from the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper that has this sort of like a wintry blue snow scene on one side. The other side has the leaves, but I thought this would work well for a winter gift. And then there's also another piece of DSP that has more leaves, fall leaves on one side, but it has this, what to me looks like scenes of a snow, bluey snow bank. So I thought that would work well together. So those are in our annual catalog and are available. I also cut out a snowflake from the gingerbread dies in silver foil, and I've got a piece of basic white die cut from the Stitched So Sweetly dies as an embellishment, and I've done a sentiment from the Christmas to Remember stamp set. So it's Magic is in the Air. There's a bunch of great sentiments from this set you could use, and that was embossed with basic white, which is in the basics embossing powder set. I'll also embellish with some rhinestone basic jewels and some ribbon and stuff. So anyway, let's get started. And all these the items or the list for all these projects, there'll be links on my blog to all the products I used, pictures of each of the different examples that I created, and I'll also be this template that you can download that has the diagram of how you're going to score and how you're going to cut, plus measurements for DSP. So let me show you how this is done. I've taken a blank piece, so my paper is kind of dark so you can't see the score lines, but I wanted you to see where the scoring is done, and you're going to do this with both of the pieces of cardstock that you're going to use. So you're going to lay it along the 8-inch side, and you're going to score first at 3 inches and 5.5, and then you're going to turn it clockwise and then your next score will be at 1.5 inches, but you're only going to go as far as this score line. Then the next score is at 3 inches, and then at 4.5. And you'll do this to both pieces. They'll be scored and cut exactly the same. So I think what I'd like to do is I like to fold my on my score lines. It gives me a better visual of where I'm going to be cutting and whatnot. So I'm going to do that first. And then any of the bumpy parts of the score that I won't be needing, I'll cut those off. I'll say wait for this one because we're going to cut here. But let me fold this one so it gives me a visual of where these scores are. Okay. So let's see if I can do this right. It's been a while since I made these, so let's see. Our diagram is like this. So we're going to, I don't know if you can see, but we're going to cut off this 1/2 inch score line piece, and then we're going to cut down to that second score line. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So you've got your 1/2 inch. We're going to cut that off, and we're going to cut down to that first score line. And then this piece, we're going to cut at a diagonal. So make sure you have your picture, and if you need to draw a line, that makes it, easier for you to remember. But you're going to be cutting this next third little rectangle, or it's the narrow one, the first rectangle, the second rectangle. You're going to cut it from this point to that point. And you'll be cutting off this section. So I'm going to cut, and if you want to use a paper trimmer, if you really want to be accurate, that's fine, but I just eyeball it. So I'm lining up on that score line, and I'm going to cut across. So you should have a piece now that looks like that. This piece is gone, and you have your triangle, and you have a little rectangle down here. And we're also going to cut up to this score line, this horizontal score line, just on this piece right here. This will become our flap, our inner flap at the top of our carrier. Now on the other side, once again, let's see, where are we here? Oh, okay, did I not score piece? We're going to cut off this 1/2 inch scored section, and we're going to angle these two pieces. If you look at the diagram, you're going to cut off this piece and then just cut this little tab, angle it at the top. So we'll cut this one off, and I'm cutting off, as I said, the scored edge because that's kind of ugly and we don't need it. And I'm just cutting this at a little bit of an angle here and a little bit of an angle there. That's going to be our glue tab, and it just makes it a little neater. Okay, so your piece should look like this at this point. So now we have one more rectangle here, and if you look at our diagram, we're going to cut, this is going to become a flap, and we're going to angle it a little bit, as in the diagram you can see by the red lines. We're going to cut it at an angle so that it again makes it a neater piece. So I'm going to just angle this one a little bit, just skim a hair off of it. And then I'm going to do the same here on this side. And then I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to cut off, well, let me cut this little score line off because we don't need that. So we'll finish that cut. So we'll just have this little sliver off. But this flap is going to be too long, so I cut roughly cut it in half. This is going to be at the bottom of your box, and you may need to, trim it a little bit more, but about half should do it. So your piece should look like this now. So we've got, this is going to be a glue flap. This is going to be folded. It's going to be your center of your, top center of your carrier. And this will fold over. And this will fold over, and we're going to do another piece exactly the same. So you can sort of see where we're going with this. So this is going to be one side of your carrier, and then we're going to do another one and do the same thing. So let's do that. And again, let's see, let me fold. I missed that score line. I can fold this one. One more fold just to give me a visual. Okay, so you want to have your 1/2 inch scored piece at the top. And again, we're going to cut down to this first, well, past this score line, the skinny, narrow score line, to the next one. So let's do that. And again, I'm cutting those scored bumps off. Okay, so here's your template. And we're going to want to cut from this point to that score line and up to where we just cut. So you want to go from this side, this score line, to the other score line where you just cut, to cut this piece off. Again, this is what you're gonna have. Okay, so the next step, again, just like before, we're going to angle this little tab just a little bit at the top, and we're going to cut off this tab. You'll see that here in the template. Okay, so now you have this, and we're going to be cutting these two edges at angles. You can cut this first and then trim the angle. So let's cut this down, and again, I'm cutting off that bumpy score line piece, and then I'm just going to do a very fine angle cut just to get rid of some of that bulk there, so it doesn't hang off, in case our cuts aren't perfect. And being a handmade piece, that often happens to me. So now you have this, you have your little angle, which is this piece here, and now we're going to cut this piece approximately in half. We don't need this excess here, it's too wide, so we can cut that about in half. So that's your two pieces. That's going to be the base of your box. And that's all the cutting we should have to do. Okay, so now, let's see, let me get these both in the same. So this is, oh, I forgot, I'm sorry, one more cut on this flap here where it has the diagonal. You just want to cut to this first score line to create this flap. And there. Okay, so we're going to fold that, get that scored. And actually, one has to go in one direction and one has to go in the other. So let's figure this out. So let me get my template out of the way. So as I said, you've got this piece that goes like this. One's going to go in this direction. Then the other one is going to go in this direction, because you want these two pieces to, we're going to glue these two pieces together, and you fold that over, fold this under, fold this. So you need two pieces like this. I'm probably not showing you exactly right, but it's kind of difficult to. So basically, you want to do this. These two pieces are going to actually interlock, and if they don't match well, I have found sometimes I had to trim a little bit off of this piece or this edge to make them fit nicely, but it looks like mine are going to work okay. So we want to, let's start to put this together. So let's start by attaching this flap to the inside of this one, because we're going to go like this. Let's see, make sure that's right. Yeah, you want to have that like that, and that like that. Okay, so open up one piece with your diagonal at the top, and the other one is here. We're going to glue these two together and glue that tab on the inside This will be the inside of the box. So let's put glue on this outer edge. I'm using the multi-purpose liquid glue. I find it to be stronger and it gives you some wiggle room to adjust. You don't need a ton of it. Don't go, over crazy. But make sure your score lines horizontally, excuse me, get my head out of the shot. Your score lines horizontally are lined up. And just give it a good rub. And then we're going to go this direction and and we're going to attach this here, so you can flip this over so that you have this other flap. And we'll put some glue on there. And before we totally make this into the container, you might want to, maybe we'll put our DSP pieces while this is still flat. It might make it easier. So make sure your score lines again are lined up so that everything will come out right. Make sure your score lines are even. So you'll end up with this. And again, this is what's going to happen here. You're going to end up gluing these. But you know what? Let's put our pieces to our DSP pieces on so that we have the flat surface to work with. So we're going to use, these are the 2 and, let's see, these measured 2 7/8 by 2 3/8, I believe it is. Yep. And so those are going to go there on the front and the back. Just center that. It'll have a scant border of your cardstock around the edge. And then let's do the other side, the piece that goes there. And if you're using a directional pattern, make sure you're doing it in the right direction. These pieces, that's the top of your box. These particular pieces I'm using have like a tree or a pine coney type design, so I'm making sure they're going in the right direction. Whoops, I got a little glue everywhere. Let me clean that up real quick. Just wipe that off. Take care of that later. Okay, so then we have these 2 end pieces, and we're going to attach these are 1 3/8 by 2 7/8, I believe that is. Yep. Oh no, these are 1 3/8, excuse me, those are the wrong ones. 1 3/8 by 2 3/8. These are going to go on either end. So let's attach those. And again, you can see you can use scraps of, different coordinating pieces that you have left over. You don't have to, you can mix and match, make it kind of fun. And here's my other piece here. And that takes care of that. Now, where it can get tricky is these angled pieces. When we put this together, we have 2 angles. We have one going in this direction and one going in the other direction. So what you're going to do is, if you can, in one box, I left on the gray one, on the smoky slate one, I left this piece blank, but I put, I don't know if you can see it. I can take it out so you can see. I left the inner portion. I put DSP on the inner portion, and I left the outer portion plain. So as you can see, there's nothing on this one, but if you want it, you can cover the inner one. But the thing you have to remember is that you're going to have to cut those pieces at different angles. For example, what I wanted to do with this is I wanted to have these sort of snowy scene pieces on the outside and inside. So I cut 2 pieces, 1 3/8 by 2 7/8. But you'll notice that one is cut from that corner to that corner, like that, and the other one is cut from this corner to that corner. So basically your cut, it's going from left top to bottom right and right top to bottom left, because those angles are opposite of each other in order to cover the different pieces. So I'll show you how they fit. Get this, we don't need that. Oh, get that out of the way. So for example, this one will fit here, and I'm going to glue that on. And again, if this happens to be a directional pattern paper, you also want to keep that in mind. What direction is your pattern going when you cut those angles? So this one is going to go here. Fits nice and snug right there. And then I'll flip it over. And then let's see, this one. This one, the same one. Okay, these are the same ones. This one will go here. Okay. And the opposite angle ones will go on the other sides of this. Okay. So these inner ones, what we have in here, these will be the opposite side angles, and they're going to cover the inner triangles. I hope that makes sense. I learned the hard way after thinking, oh yes, I can cut these both the same way, and then realized, oh no, geometry, it doesn't work that way. So this one fits here. And then this one is going to fit there. The hardest part is, you know, once you do those two angles, and I've got a diagram here of how those angles are to be cut. If you have a pattern, you just want to keep that in mind, that your pattern is going in the correct direction. Okay, so we're almost there. So these two flaps are going to get glued together like this. So we want to put a piece of DSP on these sides. So it's going to be this one, and I have a piece that measures 1 3/8 again by 2 7/8. I'm watching my pattern to make sure my branches, pine cones, whatever these happen to be, are going in the right direction. And then we're going to flip it over and do the last piece right there. So that's pretty much our decoration of DSP. And now we'll put it together to create our carrier. Okay, so you should be able to pop this like this, and we're going to glue these two pieces together. So I'm just going to put glue on one side. And again, you know, the multi-purpose glue is really strong. You don't need globs of it because that just gets you into trouble. Okay, so I'm matching up all my edges, getting it as straight as I can. There we go. So now we can do the bottom. So we're going to do the two side flaps that we cut at an angle, pop those in, and if you want to put a little adhesive here, you can, just to keep it down, but it should be okay. And then you can decide, you know, if you have a better side, one's better than the other, you might want to say, okay, I'm going to make this the front or this the front. So I'm going to go with this as the front, which means I'm going to make this the smooth edge. So I'll put this flap down first, and I'm going to glue that down. So the back side I'll glue first, and make sure your carrier is as square as possible. And then I'm going to glue this flap down and square that up. And see how I said when you cut off that little bit of a ½ inch, you don't need the whole thing. It's perfect that way. So then if you want to take your bone folder, you can kind of push down everything, make sure it's glued together. But there's your carrier. Hopefully it makes sense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach, let's see, this is my front piece, yes. I'm going to attach this with some dimensionals. Let's see, put some dimensionals on the back of that. I'll use some pieces. Let's just use them up. Make sure you use all your dimensionals. These little edge pieces are just as good as the pre-cut ones. So we'll put that on. And, you know, on the, let's see, was it this one? No, this one I decorated. This one I decorated just the front, so you can see that a little better. But then on this one, I did both sides. So this one I did the sentiment with, these are one of the Snowflake, these are also unfortunately sold out, but then I did on the other side I used the What's Cooking dies, and you know, I've got the chopping board and the spatula and whatnot. I did those on the other side, so I thought that was kind of cute as well. That would make a good one for the olive oil and vinegar. So let's see. But I did put some links on my blog to where you can get the olive oil and vinegars, and you know, hopefully you have some place close by, because it might be a little pricey to have it shipped and it may not arrive in time. But there's also a link on Amazon for the Jelly Bellies, and hopefully if you want to go with the Bailey's, your local liquor store will help you out in that respect. So I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of my snowflake here. It's going to be, the sentiment is going to go across the middle. So I want to try to glue these pieces together so you can't see it. Hopefully I've got that stuck enough that they, okay, so I'm going to put that on there. And we'll put this right there. Okay, and then my sentiment, I'm just going to do it, cut it at an angle. Oops, get back here. And we'll put some more, oops, put some more dimensionals on that. Since it's not getting mailed, might as well pop everything up and make it look more festive. We'll put that right across the center. Oops, just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to add some bling with my rhinestone basic jewels. Let's see. I'm going to take your pick tool. Come on. Oops, I didn't pick up any glue. Hold on. Just bling it up a bit. I'm going to add one more small one over here. And we'll put it over there. To the other side, add some bling on this side as well, just because we can. Okay. We can add a few down there. Throw in a big one. Okay, so now we have that, and then you just need, I believe this is a 1/4 inch hole punch. We don't sell hand punches anymore, but you can easily get these in your stationery stores. And then I'm going to use some of this white seam binding ribbon, and I'm going to try doubling it up. Oops, I was dyeing it for another project and try to make it a little bit fluffier. Just double it up and run it through. Okay. And what you can do, keep it doubled up until you tie your bow, and then you can trim the looped piece here and create like a double bow with it. Just something. This is so thin. I just want to add something more. Let's see. So this is the loop. I do believe. Wait a minute. Nope, that's. What did we got here? What did I do? Yes, it's so easy. Just got to keep track of your ends. There we go. Keep them together. Come on. Here we go. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut this loop. And trim this up a little bit. And there you go. So you can once again put your whatever treat you want to put in. So we have this one, we have this one, and then we have this one. So I hope you give it a try. Go over to my blog, stampingthecape.com. As I said, I'll have the template that you can download. And this month, my December thank you gift is I joined the Crafty Collaborations tutorial group, and there's a bundle of 18 projects that I will email to you for free for your $50 order before shipping and taxes. And this is my project from the bundle. It's this little hanging angel. I made some with my granddaughter. They're very easy to do, fun. She actually put some faces on hers. So just use this host code by December 31st, and hopefully you'll give one of these a try. Thanks so much for your patience and for watching, and have a lovely holiday. Bye-bye.